Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And I know what you're thinking.
Marco, didn't you already talk about this movie yesterday?
Yes, we did. And honestly, I still feel like trashing the movie the next day. This movie was one of those movies where it put me in a really bad mood. I think it's been a long while since I've had a movie put me in this bad of a mood. And I'm not a huge Ghostbuster fan to where I just watch the Ghostbusters original movies all the time and I own tons of Ghostbusters merchandise or anything. I'm not that crazy of a fan, even though I think the original at least was a perfect movie. And the second one was okay at best. But this movie was terrible. And it was one of those movies where I was like, I don't have to worry about this movie. The concept sounds fun. It sounds original. The whole city's frozen. There's an ice villain. That sounds fun. That sounds cool. Literally. But I should have figured. As soon as I saw Kumail Nanjiani was in this movie and Patton Oswalt, I should have figured that this movie was going to suck. And so I'm going to go through some more complaints. I didn't want to review something else today because I'm still angry about this movie. Especially after how good Afterlife was. I've seen a lot of people, they think that Afterlife was bad and they think that this was better. And it's I don't know what movie you were watching because, that movie had fan service and it had nostalgia bait in it because that's what it was trying to do. It was trying to reinvigorate the franchise and get people excited again after the franchise was destroyed with that 2016 feminazi Ghostbusters. After that movie, I thought the franchise would never come back. It was a huge surprise when they had that trailer with the what do they call it? The Ghostmobile. See, I'm not the hugest fan of this series, so but the Ghostmobile, when they showed that in the barn, whatever, and it powers on, and you see the Ghostbusters logo. That got me really excited. And I thought, there's no way the second movie's going to suck because now they can do whatever they want. With the first one, they had an obligation. They had a duty to make sure that it bridged the gap between all these years, and they have to pay service to Egon because he died in real life, and they have to really, really work hard to set up the future of the series. And then in the second one, they can do whatever they want. They pretty much have all the things they could want at their disposal. They probably had a lot more money to spend too. And this is what they do. There's been a lot of talk about how McKenna Grace, the main actress who plays Phoebe, there's been a lot of talk about how she was really, really young when she filmed the first movie, and then she aged a lot between these two movies when they were shooting. And I just don't buy that as an excuse for why they didn't bridge the gap between these two movies. Because all of a sudden they're in New York, there's no explanation whatsoever. And I think, how lazy is that? As a storyteller, let's just transport our characters to another environment because, it has to be New York because nostalgia, because we have to have all these settings from the original movie now. You know, that's basically the only reason they're in New York. There's no logical story reason of why they had to go back to New York, or at least why all of them had to go back. You know, like the waitress girl, I mean, what's she doing there? She's a scientist now, somehow. It makes no sense at all. But yeah, like with Ghostbusters Afterlife, you know, I don't think that we've talked about this on video before. But there was a fan in the comments. I can't remember which one it was because we have gotten several fans now. You know, it used to be just like one or two fans that we had, and now we have like a number of them, and I just don't quite remember all of them yet. And this one in particular, I was really, really thankful that he commented because he pointed out that Ghostbusters Afterlife had these post-credit scenes. They had this one scene with Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver, and it was really, really funny and good, and I felt like that's what I want to see in the next movie. I want to see more of this. And then there was Ernie Hudson. He had the scene where he is renovating the firehouse. He's returning it back to what it was, making it into the Ghostbusters building again. That was another awesome scene, and I felt like, and the fan in the comments also felt like, you know, say what you will about the rest of the movie, but these scenes in the credits, they should be the next movie. Like, the next movie should be more of this and less of, like, dopey teenagers fumble around with the ghost hunting products and the proton packs and shit and try to mess with those. You know, we need more of this instead, because this is what we wanted when we came back for another Ghostbusters movie, when we came back to the theaters. We didn't come back for like these dopey teenagers like reenacting Stranger Things, but with all the other OG Ghostbusters. You know, we wanted to see the Ghostbusters. And I think if they were, because it's obvious that when they shot those credit scenes, they knew that they would take these characters to New York. The filmmakers, you know, they knew. So I don't buy that excuse that girl, she grew up and so there's no way to bridge the gap because she's already older, and so it'll be really obvious looking if we shoot scenes that show her moving to New York. Because I think if they knew at the time of filming Ghostbusters Afterlife that they were going to go to New York, then why not just film one or two scenes for the next movie ahead of time? Right? Like, that's the smart thing to do, you know? Like, because you have to also think, did they originally have an idea to start off in the country where they were and then have a whole story of them going to New York? Or was it always just like, yeah, let's have them in New York from the get-go? Because I think that that's one of the biggest problems of this movie. That part of the story is not complete. And it feels like that part led to other parts being incomplete. And it just like was a domino effect to where this whole movie, it felt less like a movie and more like a sequence of little mini scripts that were strung together to make one quote-unquote movie. Like, there was no point in this movie where I felt like I am like in the second act of the movie, I'm in the third act of the movie. It just felt like I was strung along through all these different random scenes and sequences that didn't really mean anything to me at all. We were talking about like this nostalgia bait shit. Well, you know, one of my least favorite parts of the movie, one of the parts that really started to make me think like, oh. And, you know, it was really funny because Safi, she neglected to mention that when we were seeing this movie, she could hear me groaning and moaning. You know, like I was groaning and moaning so loudly because of this movie, which sounds wrong, by the way, because like and I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It's not like yes, Carrie Coon in this movie is still a MILF, but that is not the reason. No, I was suffering. I was suffering. I was in pain, misery. I've been sick, as I mentioned a million times, because it just keep on being sick. And being sick was better than watching this movie. Like, I was like, like, I was in hell watching this movie. It was like getting beaten up, like, by a baseball bat or something. It was the worst experience ever. And the part that really, really made me the part where the girl kills herself for 2 minutes, we'll talk about that too. That part was also infuriating to me, because it didn't make sense. It didn't feel earned. It wasn't logical at all. Nothing about it made sense. It was just complete, utter shit. But the part where they're at the library, and they get out of the library, and the ghost that's like jumping around and possessing objects that they're chasing, because they just had to have some goofy chase sequence in the movie, which felt kind of like they're trying to do like Scooby-Doo. But Scooby-Doo's much better, you know. The lion that's in front of that big famous library that was in the original movie, the lion comes to life. And that, to me, was the stupidest part, or one of the stupidest parts of the movie, because I felt like this really is just pure nostalgia bullshit. Because they're just looking at these locations, they're looking at these sets from the original movie, and they're saying, okay, how can we use these sets to make people go like, oh, I remember that. Oh, cool. Oh, there's that thing from the original movie. Oh, let's have the lion that's in front of the library come to life. Ooh, that is a great idea. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Pretend like a ghost is patting you on the back. Good job. Oh, that feels good, actually. I haven't done that in a long time. I think the last time I did that was in like fucking elementary school. But anyways, and the people who made this movie, the lack of creativity is what really surprises me, because people say that they took inspiration from the cartoon show. And I would assume, at least, though, that the cartoon show was actually creative. Because, like, the villain in this movie, he was complete garbage. He was terrible, generic, trash, CGI garbage villain. It could have been any movie. It could have been a Green Lantern movie. Could have been a Batman movie. Could have been a Superman movie. It could have been anything. It could have been fucking Kung Fu Panda 5, this villain. And, there were these other new monsters. This is what I wanted to mention. There were these other new monsters they came up with, too. These new spirits or whatever, these things. And they were really, really not creative either. Like, they were all basically just blobs. Like, you had, like, this one little blob, and it barfed all over one of the people at a certain point in the movie. Because, like, I guess when they come up with new entities and new, like, ghosts and things, the only things that they can do are, like, possess things, like in the second one, when the slime was possessing stuff, I think. I can't remember. And then also, like, in the first one, you have, like, Slimer who barfs on people. So that's the only thing that ghosts in this universe can do, or they can be lesbian. And we'll talk about that, too, because, I think that the big disaster with this movie is that stupid-ass relationship, that agenda-driven relationship. This character, she is one of the worst characters. She is almost as bad as the characters in Drive Away Dykes. Like, she was terrible. This Melody character, she was the most generic, been there, done that character I've ever seen. She reminds me a lot of, like, back when I did acting classes, we would have improv Fridays. And she just reminds me of like a character that somebody would come up with an improv class of like, I'm a ghost from the 70s and I want to see my family and stuff, and I'm the cool girl, and everything's about me, me, and I'm just the center of the world, and it doesn't matter that I end the world by destroying it and causing an ice age, because I want to go see my family and stuff. And yeah, but maybe I can redeem myself at the end because I'm a chick. And so that's another thing I want to talk about is this character. Like, her motivations don't make any sense at all. Like, there's no thread through her character story. There's no point at which we're told, like, why did she start interacting with Phoebe in the first place? Because I know that, like, in the original Ghostbusters movie, although we didn't see it, I think it's in the novelization, there was this whole reasoning behind the blowjob ghost, the one that visited Ray. There was this whole story behind, like, where he was hired to get rid of this ghost or something, and then he ended up attracting her to him. She gave him a blowjob. Like, that made sense. That was a story. It made sense. In this movie, fucking Phoebe, all of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, which, by the way, this is another point to which I would say, how dumb can you get? Because Phoebe, she is the dumbest character in this movie. She is in the middle of New York in a park. Like, have you ever heard of, like, things that, I think that park, like, they must have gotten, like, heavy security for her to do that scene, to film that scene at nighttime, because she's playing chess all by herself, and you think, why would a smart girl like her go to the park in the middle of New York at nighttime and start playing chess with herself? Like, she's just, she's putting herself in a very bad position. I'm not going to say she's asking for anything, because she's not, but she put herself in a very weird position where, like, I think her parents need to have a talk with her if she's not as smart as she thinks she is, where it's like, why are you that's like in the Child's Play remake, where Aubrey Plaza is like, go out and make friends, like in that same neighborhood with, like, where she almost gets gang raped in the original movie, like, go out and make friends, so that I can have sex with my stupid boyfriend. And the Child's Play remake, actually, I would say the Child's Play remake is a better movie than this one. It is 1,000 times better of a movie. But anyways, what is the reason that Melody interacts with Phoebe? Like, does she just come across her and she's like, oh, look, there's a teenage girl? Like, isn't it kind of convenient that she's a Ghostbuster and that she just happened to, like, get attracted to this Ghostbuster and find her there? Like, I thought, you could have had a little story where she sees her busting ghosts out on the street, and that's how she first finds her, but there's no attempt to tell a story in this movie. It's just complete and utter nonsense. Another thing you have to talk about is the sudden betrayal, and the whole thing with, like, her killing herself for 2 minutes so that she can kiss the other stereotype lesbian. That was terrible, because you think, we've seen a lot of movies now, but we have a lot of knowledge about, like, the spirit world and about, all this type of stuff, especially me. And you think, like, there's a number of things that they could have done before jumping to the, oh yeah, there's this piece of equipment that I conveniently saw in this, like, 30-minute sequence, this boring-ass sequence where we were seeing all the different things in the zoo laboratory, and it allows you to kill yourself for 2 minutes and then come back to life. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Because then you think about, well, Ray, he said he spent every minute of every day of his life thinking about becoming a ghost and what that would be like. So why hasn't Ray tried this device himself then? If he's that curious about being a ghost, it doesn't make any sense, does it? No. Or it's because Ray's smart and Ray's an adult and he knows that that's stupid and idiotic. I mean, why did they even come up with that machine anyway? I don't even remember an explanation for it. It's just like, oh yeah, that's there. Just like all these other things in the movie that are just there. But you think about astral projection. You think about the Insidious movies. You know, all you have to do to interact with spirits in the Insidious movies is go to sleep and somehow astral project because you have a magic gift in the family. So why couldn't she have tried that? Why couldn't she have, used her brain and tried to, like, come up with, like, okay, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Like, experiment. Because that's what she's doing anyway. She's experimenting, literally and figuratively. So why can't she be like the smart character that she was in the first movie and experiment around before she gets to okay, I want to kill myself for 2 minutes. Like, that's stupid. And I would say it's a bad movie to show to children, too, because it's encouraging children to commit suicide so that they can have a relationship with a lesbian ghost. This movie's a bad influence, by the way. Like, it's a really bad influence. Not just because it's bad, but also because it's just complete trash, too. But the whole betrayal thing, I didn't buy it at all. Because, usually in a story that makes sense, in something where, we have a beginning, middle, and end, and we have characters and things, things that are basically like storytelling 101, usually you have the scene at a certain point of the movie after we find out that the good guy's the villain, which actually, guys, remember how in Kung Fu Panda 4, we thought that girl was a good guy and then she was working for the bad guy, and we were saying, where have we seen that cliche before? Well, we actually saw that in this movie now. And so it just goes to show how common that movie cliche is, how lazy it is, how been there, done that it is. But usually there's a scene in the movie where the bad guy talks to that character, so we would see the bad guy, what did we say his name should be, Chilly Willy? We see Chilly Willy talking to the girl, to the lesbian Melody, and talking to her about, like, you did good, you did a good job. And you have a shot of her, and she's like, oh, thank you, but maybe I really didn't. You see that little hint of, like, oh, should I have really done that? Because what did he promise her? And he never followed through on his promise, too. So it's just another thing of, like, she is really, really stupid, too, this ghost girl, because it's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to listen to this random demon from the past tell me, like, I'll let you see your family if you let me in the world. Like, you gotta be really stupid to do that. I know that there's some stupid people, but this girl is just ultra stupid if she was willing to do that just so that she can see her family. It's so dumb. It's so brain dead and stupid. And there's no journey for her character to redeem herself at the end. It's just all of a sudden, oh yeah, she kind of has to because she's like there as plot convenience. There's no other way for her. There's no other way for the villain to get defeated other than for her to magically decide to be good and do what she does at the end, so that we can also forgive her because she's a girl. And female villains, they're always in the right. They always have a reason for everything they do. And meanwhile, Chilly Willy, he gets banished or whatever. He gets destroyed. And therein, we're going to talk about some other things, because, like, I know that this review is all over the place, too, because I'm still upset about this terrible movie. I'm really, really, like, this movie is bad. This would be a good commentary movie, I can tell you that right now, because I would destroy every single scene of this entire movie. Like, every single thing, I will tell you why it's bad. That's how much I hate it. Like, I think this movie might be the movie, because another thing that I forgot to mention yesterday was that one of the reasons why this movie reminded me of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid is because it felt to me like that same elitist attitude where in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, they were like, okay, we got to ditch the neighbors, we got to ditch that normal people neighborhood, and we got to move to this really elite neighborhood in Nevada with all the rich people and the good people and all the people like the ones in Hollywood. And in this movie, it felt like a similar thing, and it really pissed me off to where, like, you know, I really liked that town that they were in the last movie. I thought it was stupid for them to have moved to the city. In fact, I was kind of under the impression that maybe they were just in the city as a vacation. That would have worked, because the whole movie's thing was like, you know, Christmas in July, you know, an ice villain in July. Why not just have them on a summer vacation to New York so that they can visit the OG Ghostbusters at the Ghostbusters place and then learn some stuff from them and then have to deal with that? Like, that would have been so much more logical to do that than for them to have just moved to New York just because. I mean, does that town in Whereversville, does that town just not need Ghostbusters anymore? Like, it's just like, God. But so it's the same thing here where it's like, oh, we can't live in the little people town anymore. We have to go to New York. We have to have this sequel take place in New York with all the, you know, all the buildings from the first one and the second one, and, you know, because it's really bad. Another thing is the red suits or the red jackets. This is another thing where I will say it's a little bit my fault, because I think I had like the Mandela effect for this movie, where I thought that these characters were going to be wearing red suits. You know those jackets they wear at the end of the movie? Like, I thought that they were going to have like fully red suits and that they were going to be the new Ghostbusters uniforms, because like those beige suits are so ugly and dull. I mean, that's kind of the joke about them, is that they look like UPS workers or something, you know, in those suits. And so why not give them like these cool red suits? Or I thought, are these red suits going to have some kind of purpose to them? And I thought, you know, they're fighting an ice villain, so maybe these suits are going to be are going to be fire resistant. So, like, because they're going to be, maybe they have to set something on fire at the end. They have to set a building on fire. They have to set the bad guy on fire for sure. And so then their suits would be fire resistant, and they could have cool helmets or something. That could have been cool. Like, that would have made sense. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I can shit on. Sorry. Okay, well, here's another thing. The parents in this movie are terrible. We already talked about how they let this teenage girl, go to the park in New York at 10 o'clock at night, where she could be basically she'd be gone, man. Like, she'd be on all the missing persons channels. In fact, you could have made that this movie, too. That would have been even creepier, too. You could have started off the movie where you have all the stupid conflict with them, and then she's in the park for some reason at 10 o'clock at night, and she disappears. And all the Ghostbusters are trying to find her, They're trying to use, like, psychics to see, like, is she dead? Where is she? And then it turns out she was kidnapped by this ice demon or whatever. Like, that could have been scary. Why not do something like that? You know, I really didn't like the parents in this movie, Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon, because they had potential to be good. They had really good chemistry with each other as actors. And I felt like they just were real. The dynamic between them and Phoebe was really, really strange. Because Phoebe, the whole movie, it was kind of weird because, like, I thought this would make sense if they're trying to make it where she has, like, teen angst or something. And so she's just, like, lashing out at her parents because she's being childish. But no, like, the story is that she's mad that she can't be a Ghostbuster. She's not smart. She's so smart that she's not smart enough to figure out why it's bad for a child to be a Ghostbuster. And so she's mad at her parents the entire movie. And I thought, it was really weird how, like, because I was almost confused. I was like, you know, in the last movie, Carrie Coon was her mother. But this entire movie, to me, it felt like she was treating Paul Rudd like he was her father, and then Carrie Coon was just some random biatch. You know, like, the whole movie, she's, like, ragging on her mom, and just, like, I was like, wait a second, who's the step-parent here? Oh, yeah, it's the guy making lame jokes about he's her science teacher, he's her step-teacher. Really, really weird jokes in this movie, too. That's another thing, is that the comedy in this movie is almost non-existent. Like, I was struggling to laugh at this movie. There were, like, 2 parts where I was close to chuckling, but there was nothing there for me to laugh at, and it was. And there's never any arc for these characters, and, like, because at the beginning of the movie, everyone's kind of mad that the children aren't allowed to be Ghostbusters anymore. You know, Paul Rudd, he was not really taking it seriously, that, like, yeah, this girl, she should really not be ghostbusting, or nor should Finn Wolfhard Igor. Igor should not be ghostbusting either. But there's no arc in the movie of the parents realizing that, oh, wait a second, that Walter Peck might be a dickless jackass, but he is definitely 100% right about these kids should not be Ghostbusters, and this is why. Because you see here, this stupid character, she's going to end the entire world so that she can kill herself for 2 minutes and share a kiss with a lesbian ghost that she didn't even need to do. As we saw in the first movie, if a ghost can give someone a blowjob, then a ghost can kiss someone as well. So, you know, there was not even any need for her to do that. Another thing that was really disappointing was Podcast's character. You know, his character in the first movie, a lot of people didn't like him, or they didn't like the kids in general. But I liked the dynamic that he had with Phoebe. You know, it didn't feel like they would be in a romance in this movie or anything. It just felt like they were friends. But they had a really good dynamic with each other. And it was just, the whole situation with him was so weird of, like, wait, why is he in New York too? Like, what happened with the parents? Like, did the parents just be like, oh yeah, this Ghostbuster wants to do a podcast with you, and so we've got to move you all the way to New York? Like, that would never happen in real life. Like, I don't care, like, how cool the Ghostbusters are. You know, that would never happen in real life. Realistically, you could have just done the podcast over the internet on video call. You know, you could have done, I see that all the time. While I'm working and doing stuff at home, I watch these podcasts and people are from all over the place talking with each other. There was no reason for podcasts to move to New York But I thought it was really disappointing that they put him in this situation with Ray, and there was no, like, I don't know, it felt like maybe there should have been a story there of, like, Ray is, like, his father figure to him or something, because, like, I felt like there's just something missing there, of, like, maybe it's just because there were so many characters in this movie that they couldn't really focus in that hard on these characters and have a story like that. But I really felt like that could have been great. That could have been a really great relationship, because that was one of my favorite parts of Ghostbusters Afterlife, was that part at the end where Ray revealed that he listened to podcast. I thought that was really sweet. And, you know, to see that relationship continue in this movie of, like, you know what? You could have had a really great Ghostbusters team with him, podcast, Ernie Hudson, the little girl, and that's it. You know, like, you don't even need Paul Rudd and the mom. I mean, and that's another thing, too. At what point did Paul Rudd become a Ghostbuster? Like, where was the training there of him becoming a Ghostbuster or anything? It's just like everything's already been done. And this is just a story. This is just some random story, a random episode. It's the shitty episode, too. Yeah. I'm not really sure if there's much else to say. I mean, I think I basically eviscerated the movie. I mean, I still can't get the bad taste of this movie out of my mouth. I mean, like, this movie has just completely drained me emotionally. Like, I made a post yesterday, and I was being 100% serious. This movie almost turned me into Mrs. Nesbitt. You know, in Toy Story, when Buzz Lightyear, when he falls and his arm comes off, and so he's just, like, completely dumb with everything, and he's Mrs. Nesbitt, and the Bonnie is playing with him, or is that Bonnie? I can't remember what her name was. The sister, she's playing with him, and he's like, "Don't you get it? You see the hat? I'm Mrs. Nesbitt." It's like, that's what I felt like after watching this movie. Like, I am Mrs. Nesbitt now. Like, I'm just so done. This movie was so shitty. It's unbelievable how shitty this movie was. It's unbelievable how they had all the ingredients to make a good movie, and they made something so terrible. I mean, so terrible. I mean, I don't know what would have been worse. If we had a sequel to the Feminazi movie that I didn't watch, and then I wouldn't watch the second one either, or this movie. You know, like, what's worse? I don't know. Maybe 2 hours of improv would have been better. Because I heard that the 2016 was just 2 hours of improv. So, yeah. I think that's about it. Well, I guess I'll just end with this. I really didn't like the utilization of Peter in this movie. Peter's character, I guess that Bill Murray just really doesn't want to do very much. Because it was weird how he was in so little of this movie. And I was thinking, like, why not incorporate him more? Why not incorporate these Ghostbusters more? Because, as people have pointed out before, the team dynamic that they had was the drawing point to the original movie. You know what else would have been effective? Is that if you saw them, like, come together and show these main characters, look, you got to work together as a team. We work together really well, and, you know, you get to see them working together and everything. Like, that could have been really awesome, too, is just seeing them be, like, role models and trying to show a good example to these Ghostbusters. But instead, like, Peter just randomly shows up in the movie. I guess he's a Ghostbuster, or he's a science person. I don't know. He's really, like, I don't know. Like, I really like that credit scene where he was with Dana and they were doing that parody of the scene from the first movie. And, like, We didn't get anything like that in this movie. It was just him, like, phoning it in. Just like, he puts on the Ghostbusters outfit, and he's just there in the background. You know, like, really, really weird choices with this movie. I don't even know if they should make a third movie at this point. You know, if they couldn't handle making this one, who knows what they'll do for the next one. I mean, I think that they ruined it as soon as they took it out of that old town. And I'm being 100% serious. Like, I didn't want to see them in New York very much. I wanted to see the original Ghostbusters in New York, maybe at certain points of the movie, but I didn't want to see these people in New York. So I think that's about it. I think I've beaten this movie to death and then beaten the spirit to death too of this movie. This movie's spirit had no chance with me to see its family. So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought about the shitty movie. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. Because I'm not going to pretend like this movie's good. Because, oh wow, there's that one part where you see Slimer. And then there's that one part where you see the ghost librarian of the original movie. And then there's that one part where you see Bill Murray. It's like, no, I'm not going to be like that at all. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon for tomorrow.